Hi everyone, today is October 26, 2019, and this is the Duel Assessment, your podcast for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. My name is Green Ranger, and we have a lot to talk about this week. The main item, of course, is the new MiniBOX, Spirit of the Beast. We'll talk about all the URs and SRs, and really all the archetypes, which is only 2 archetypes. There's a little one there too, but there's a lot of cards. They're almost all wind monsters, which is very interesting, but I'll tell you about my overall impression about the box and why I will not be buying any of it. Let's see what else. We have some esports. So the decks are basically playing with the new nerf to the skills or buffs to skills. So some new skills, and they're also playing with some of the ban list going on. So we'll see what some of the top decks are in this meta, in Duel Links meta, and in Duel Links Taiwan as well. We'll go over the podcast question of the week about PvE events, if they last too long. Some other new cards sprinkled here and there. And Doug Dimon Duel is back. He has an Alistair Water deck. So this combines Alistair the Invoker, Invocation, Casitas, of course, with the old school Sea Stealth Citadel Will cards. So a lot of the old water monsters you saw back then are reappearing in this deck, and Doug is mixing it all up together in one deck. We also have the upcoming news for November as well. Let's get to it. Not much to talk about for myself. I am running out of time. It is October 26th. The month is going to end Thursday on Halloween. And I have a very low number of games played. That's kind of resulting in everything. I'm still at Legend 1 with my Fortune Lady deck. I've switched over to the Silent Magician version. I'm still having trouble with consistency, frankly. Obviously, I don't have a ton of Silent Magicians, nor do I have 3 Fortunately Callings, so I'm playing a very incomplete deck. And it could be the reason why I'm at Legend 1, but I'm not putting in enough games. I also haven't farmed Jaden Ubel too much. I still have my 1 Neo's Wiseman from last time, and I have 2 of the Fusion spell, the new Summon Skull Fusion, but I might spend some of those stones, but it's basically just getting in those games at the gate, setting the multiplier to 2 or whatever, and playing a synchro deck and just dueling. And the reason for this is because I activated a 1-month trial of Netflix, so I did that for the Breaking Bad movie, and now I'm just watching other shows like Ozark to not waste my 1-month trial. So I'm watching a lot of TV, and I'm also watching baseball, of course. So it's taking up all my time, and I have to get back to dueling before I know nothing. I have no more content for the show, and we'll all be in trouble if that's the case. So let's get to esports. Duel Links Meta Weekly 95. As they predicted, which we'll talk about in the tier list, Dark Lords took over here. Dark Lords least hurt by beatdown just because their guys are all huge already. So all the other decks that relied on beatdown to get over Dark Lords can't. So that's why they're overwhelmingly taking over in the Duel Links meta community. Everyone else is pretty much fighting for second place, every other deck. First place, Tom V. Delzin, tie that binds Dark Lords. Natural replacement for Dark Lords. But I must say, I played in the ladder in my demotion match, my Legend 2 demotion match, against Compensation Dark Lords, Bakura skill. And this deck was super annoying. It took me down to my last card, even though he didn't deck me out. He beat me before my last card, but it felt like he kept recycling the same card over and over again and kept gaining life points and kept abusing the abilities of Dusk and Ixchel to reuse that one card. And Compensation Dark Lords might be something, but let's talk about this deck right here. Tie That Binds. You've got your typical array of monsters here. 1 Desire, 3 Ixchel, 1 Superbia, 1 Morningstar, 2 Nastin, 1 Tetzlopakia, 1 Ukobak. Notably, there's no Dusk in this deck. Wall of D, there's 2 copies of Wall of D that kind of takes over for the cards that were semi-limited, which include World Legacy Clash and Hey Trunade. notably, the side deck is what you want to tech. So the side deck has Cash Back, which is a counter trap against the mirror, against Dark Lords. So if you're facing too many Dark Lords on the ladder, you better put a Cash Back in your deck, and you might win the next turn, maybe. And Mispolymerization is a trap card against Invoke decks or Fusion decks. So those are 2 cards to consider as your anti-meta tech cards. Second place, Ash Neospace Invoked Fusion Neos. This isn't the straight up invoked Neos deck. There is the Dark Hex Sealed Fusion and 1 copy of Magicalized Fusion, which help you make Dark Cavalry. This deck does not have Millennium Eyes Restrict, probably because the person doesn't have the card. I've seen decks run Dark Cavalry with that card. This guy probably doesn't have it. So instead, there's an Elemental Hero Neos Knight instead, which is a good monster to clear the board. But otherwise, deck's not running beat down, so Neospace helps your Brave Neos get over 3,000 right off the bat, because it's 2,500 plus a monster that you use to fuse it, 26 plus 500, 3,100. And not much else to say. There's 2 copies of Concentrating Current that kind of takes over. 4 Neos Fusion being semi-limited, so that's not like World Legacy Clash that was hit. Third place, Lular Power of the Dark Invoked Magician Girls. So, Power of the Dark really only helps Chocolate, because Chocolate does the mirror wall. She'll get she'll get to 1,800, and that basically means a 400 attack boost because you're having the other person. So that's why Power of the Dark is there. It's not like Alistair is gonna 1,200 attack is gonna do much. The Berry Girl 400 attack, and all the invoked fusions are, rocks, dragons, or beasts. So really, the Power of the Dark is just for the Chocolate Magician Girl. Otherwise, you've got the same components: 2 copies of Concentrating Current, Cosmic Cyclone, Econ, 3 Floodgates, so it stalls pretty good, I guess. And third place, Trap Dexter, Time Passage, Silent Magician, Fortune Lady. This isn't the exact version of the deck I'm playing. I only have 1 Silent Magician, but this one runs the full complement. 3 Silent Magicians, 1 level 8, 1 Fortune Lady Light, 2 Wind, 3 Past, 2 Water, 3 Fortune Lady Callings, 1 Future Vision, 2 Econ, 2 Drowning Mirror Force. That is it for the Meta Weekly. Let's talk about the Taiwan scene. Top 4 all over the place. Each player, of course, has 2 decks, and every single deck is different. So let's talk about 8 different decks here. Jasper02 won first place. Destiny Draw, Parshaft, Dark Lords. So you've got the Parshaft package. 3 Rebirth of Parshaft, 2 Ultimate Providence, and of course the cards, the Avenging Knight in the extra deck. And that kind of takes over for all the back row that they normal Dark Lords will have. What's interesting about this deck, it also has Destiny Hero Plasma. So this is a deck that swarms really well. They can get 3 monsters on the board pretty easily thanks to their abilities, and then you can get Destiny Hero Plasma as well. This person also brought Master of Rites Vendread. So Master of Rites has been buffed, so you can get some consistency drawing your ritual monsters or spells. And this person runs 2 copies of Gozuki. I think that's because Samurai Skull is still semi-limited, and they have the semi-limit cards in the other deck, in the Dark Lord deck. But I'm not positive. In most cases in this meta, you would want to run Samurai Skull. But otherwise, the Vendread deck is pretty much the same as we last saw it. 2 Vendread Slayer, 2 Executor, 2 Battle Lord. The Gozukis, as I mentioned, 2 Remnants, 2 Hound Horde, 1 Anima, 3 Revendread Origin, 2 Revendread Evolution, and 2 Vendread Knights. Second place, this translates to Fish in a Wok. So let's talk about the Unga Bunga deck later. There is a Lab Builder, Warrior Subterror deck. So you've got the Subterror package, 2 Umastrix, 1 Saiga Kraken, 3 Nemesis Warrior, and 3 Subterra Final Battle. This also runs Ties of the Brethren, and you've got level 4 Earth Warriors. Some random ones: Absolute Crusader, Warrior Lady of the Wasteland, Justice Bringer, Midshield Gardener, DD Warrior, and these cards all work with the Nemesis Warrior, of course. So you just try to get them all on the board. Other than that, you've got 1 copy of Cosmic Cyclone, 1 Econ, and 2 Treacherous. Let's talk about the Unga Bunga deck. It's a Spell Specialist Unga Bunga Dragon deck, and really, it's a mess. You've got elements of Blue Eyes in here, but none of the support spells. You got like the 3 Eggs, the 3 Spirit of Whites, and the 3 regular Blue Eyes. Some of the other monsters: Deep Eyes White Dragon, Blue Eyes Solid Dragon, Keeper of the Shrine, 3 Arc Brave Dragon, 1 Mana Dragon Zernatron, Dawn Knight, 3 copies of Paladin of Felgrin, Pandemic Dragon, and even a Guard Dragon Garmedes for good measure. But the 5 spells for Spell Specialist are Future Fusion, 3 copies of Grasslok Screener, 1 Econ, 1 Ruins of the Divine Dragon Lords, and 1 Claw of Hermos. And to wrap it all up, you've got Treacherous. So, Spell Specialist is you try to start off with a spell in your hand, and 3 copies of Grasslok Screener. That's kind of the goal of the deck, is to draw Grasslok Screener. But then you've also got Future Fusion and Claw of Hermos. Future Fusion lets you summon the fusion monster from the extra deck. And this extra deck has 5-headed dragon, which is a 5,000, requires 5 dragon monsters. And it can't be destroyed by battle from a dark, water, earth, wind, or fire monster. So, it can only be destroyed by a light monster. I think that's or you can make it divine, I guess, if you want. But, once you put this on the board, you pretty much win, unless they have Treacherous or something. But, you also have the Red Eyes Dragon Sword. That from the Claw of Hermos. This gets really strong because you try to dump all these dragons into the graveyard. And then you have some synchro plays with Paladin of Felgrand. No, wait. The Whitestone of Ancients is a tuner. So you could do Vermilion Dragon, Scrap Dragon, Azure Eyes, and also Samsara. This deck looks like a mess, but I guess it works. This guy got 2nd place with it. 3rd place, Koala, Sorcery Conduit, Invoked. And then 1 card Wonder Stall. So let's look at the Invoke deck. So, you got Alistair and 2 Invocations here. Other monsters in the deck: Flip Flop Frog, Sazank, 2 copies of Justice Bringer. So Justice Bringer allows the Earth play, Sazank allows the Earth play, and then the Frog allows Coxitus. No Dark Monster for the Dark play. Pretty standard deck. I mean, 3 Cosmics. Cosmic Cyclone helps you banish your 3rd card, lose 1,000, use Sorcery Conduit to draw Alistair. That's pretty much the play here. This deck notably has 2 Concentrating Current and 2 World Legacy Clash, so both the cards that are replacing each other are in the deck, and 2 Wall of D. Let's talk about the stall deck here, and I hate stall decks, but this one is actually kind of genius. 1 card Wonder, Kaelin Kessler's skill that no one ever used. You start off with 1 card, but then you draw 2, so it's kind of weird. A stall deck is drawing 2 cards each turn. But the way this works is these cards are all very annoying, in that you could have 1 card and you could help stall that turn, and then you'll start building your card advantage, continuously. So the deck in its whole: Lava Golem, 2 Sazank, 3 Fortress Warrior, 3 Winged Kuriboh, 2 regular Kuriboh, 2 Flute of Summoning Kuriboh, 3 Floodgates, 2 Countergate, 3 Rainbow Life, 2 Wall of D, 1 Regulation of Tribe, 3 Hollowed Life Barrier, 1 Curse of Anubis, 1 Massive Morph, 1 Localized Tornado. And Localized Tornado is the one that will play around you drawing 2 cards each turn. Shuffle all cards from your hand and graveyard into the deck. So, you basically get to reset there. It's much better than Endless Trap Hell, because you basically reset your whole thing, and you could just repeat the whole thing over again. So I think this guy probably decked out a lot of people. Very smart play, but super annoying. Finally, 3rd place, Osama, Balanced Triamids, and Destiny Draw Magnet Warriors. Nothing to say about this Triamid deck. they're pretty much the same. They haven't really changed. Shadow Imprisoning Mirror is still in the deck. Alistair's still running wild. And, of course, all the Dark Lords are still around. And then Destiny Draw Magnet Warrior. It's more aggressive build. You've got Hey Trunade, for example, in the deck, and some Cosmic Cyclones, and a Lava Golem. This deck notably does not have the new field spell. It didn't come out yet. It makes Magnet Warriors a lot better. So that is it for those two events. Let's talk about the tier list real fast. Dark Lords are the pure tier 1 deck. No one else is near it. Tier 2, you've got Fortune Ladies that have risen, Triamids have risen, and 6 Sams. Tier 3, Invoked, Spellbooks, Ancient Gears have gone up, and Desperado and Neos have gone down because of the nerfs. And then High Potential, they have Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes are, strong monsters, so that helps against the beatdown. Their attacks are definitely higher, so other monsters can't get over them, so it helps with the beatdown. Alright. So notably, there was no new PvE event this week, and that led to my podcast question of the week. Do PvE events last too long in Duel Links? 31% said yes, the players are bored. 28% said yes, but new players need the time. And 41% said no, the length was fine. Pro Bench Warmer says, even though I don't farm like any of these events, I think newer players may need the time to collect all the cards. I barely care for them. If you listen to this podcast, Pro Bench Warmer pretty much exclusively focuses on the ranked duels, the PvP aspect, so I guess it never occurred to me that people do that, but it makes sense. All streamers, they don't really focus on, these events and things like that. It's more of a thing to do when you're not playing PvP, and I am a person who, I can't play PvP out in the open. I'm afraid something's going to go wrong, but then my home internet sucks anyway, so I get disconnected enough at home, so I don't know what I'm skittish about, but I don't know. I guess I like having a full screen of a monitor to play. I don't know. Steph the Villain says, what is PvE? Sometimes I use terminology that not everyone will understand, but PvE, player versus enemy, and enemy is the computer. It's kind of funny that if you talk about computers taking over our lives, PvE. But anyways, it's just anything that you're just auto-dueling against the computer, or any event, or anything like that. That's not against a real-life player, so PvE. Finally, curly-haired hero with the insightful comment, most times the event lengths are fine. I have more problem with there being no cooldown between events. They used to do Wandering Duelist meter in between, but now they combine them with bigger events, and it's just one after another. It's exhausting to keep up. I guess, yeah, they used to have a cooldown some days with nothing, and you could focus on the PvP events, but, yeah. If you're a person who tries to farm every single card, I could see this being a problem. I think I got through the burnout by not farming. I think they give us enough time that you don't really need to farm. You could just auto-duel your things, and with any of those bonus boosters that they give, it definitely helps, but sometimes you do miss out by not farming. And there is definitely burnout to PvP events. I know that. So, yeah. There's always a struggle to game. Even though gaming is supposed to relax you and all, there is always a struggle factor that we've realized if we've put enough time into gaming, and yeah, it could be a problem. I'm going to get to the new MiniBOX, Spirit of the Beast, and, before I talk about all the cards, I typically look at all of them, obviously, to write these reviews and things like that, but this was one of the first boxes where I looked at everything and I said, I don't really want anything. There's one card I like, but there's two main archetypes. I'm not too excited about them in the grand scheme of things. It's possible they can hit King of Games or whatever, but nothing too exciting here. I don't think I've been so uninterested in a box in a very long time. Obviously, there is some support for some ongoing archetypes, but yeah. Anyways, most of these cards are wind monsters. the two main archetypes, the Spiritual Beast, Ritual Beast, whatever, and the Yosenjus are all wind monsters. And yeah, Mist Valley's wind. Alright, let's get to the cards. URs and SRs are, again, same thing. There's one copy of each in a MiniBOX. First one, Ritual Beast Alti Apelio, wind, level 6. Pyro Fusion requires a contact fusion of a Ritual Beast Tamer and a Spiritual Beast. 2600 attack, 400 defense. Must be special summoned by banishing those cards you control. If this attacks, it's unaffected by other cards' effects until the end of the damage step. During either player's turn, you can return this card you control to the extra deck. Target 2 of your banished monsters, a Tamer and a Spiritual Beast. Special summon them in defense. So, all of the Ritual Beasts do contact fuse. You need a Tamer and a Spiritual Beast. There's 3 of these, and then they all have the ability where you can return the card to the extra deck and defuse them, if you will, for other cards in the graveyard. So they all have that ability. This one has the most attack, 2600, and then it also is unaffected by card effects. It's not like Armadides where it doesn't allow the cards to activate, but you can let them go off, but they'll just be wasting it. So it's a little better in that regard, even though it hits the other monsters on the board. Yeah. I mean, this is the main play for Ritual Beasts, is letting a 2600. It's basically their main play is Armadides, right? I mean, it's 100 less attack. Wait, Armadides is 23, never mind. Anyways, there's nothing really special about this, I think. You could just hit through with a 2600 each turn, and then you keep bringing it back. But if that's your main play, I don't really see, too much potential with it. With monsters like Dark Lords, a regular Dark Lord could just beat this card right away. The next card is Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda. I think this is a Gusto monster and some other card, but level 4 Wind Psychic, 1600, 1800. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card by battle or card effect, you can special summon a Ritual Beast from your deck or extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can only special summon Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda once per turn. So if you look at this card's name, it's actually very interesting. This card's name is an ability. It is a Spiritual Beast and a Ritual Beast Tamer at the same time. So there's some flexibility. It could be either material for the contact fusion. It could be the Ritual Beast Tamer or the Spiritual Beast. Anyways, upon destruction, she could float any monster from the archetype, even the contact fusion. It appears she can cheat out the Ritual Beast Alti Apello, which is very interesting. Additionally, she's a psychic. I mean, all of the Tamers are psychics, but psychics can allow psychokinesis. And psychokinesis is a card you pay 1,000, and then you could trigger some ability that needs you to lose 1,000. So I think there could be something with this. Obviously, you're getting 3 of this card to play this archetype that isn't very good, but I don't know. I feel like there's just them being psychic and psychic cards having some potential could be useful. I don't know. But then you'll be investing 3 times of this box, and I don't know. But this is the best card of this archetype because of her overall flexibility. She has okay stats. She's a psychic. She's material for the contact fusion, so I don't know. And then last, you are Yosenju Sword Sting, trap card. If you control no monsters, reveal up to 2 Yosenju monsters in your hand with different names. Then target that many face-up cards your opponent controls, return them to the hand. You can activate 1 per turn. This is most similar to Dual Wield, except there's different situational requirements. Dual Wield requires a face-up attack position monster, only 1. And then you could bounce, 2 of those, any card. Yosenju's Sword Swing can allow 1 or 2. You need to have those cards in your hand, though, those Yosenju monsters in your hand, and then it only hits face-up monsters. So there's a little flexibility, but then it's a little more situational. If Yosenjus are to be competitive, this is definitely their removal, though. So it's required for that archetype. Alright, SRs. Spiritual Beast Cannahawk, level 4 Wind Thunder, 1400, 600. Once per turn, you can banish a Ritual Beast from your deck face up. During your second standby phase after this ability, Add the card banished by this effect to your hand. Special summon once per turn. It's basically Gold Sarcophagus in a monster. It's fair. It's definitely not OP because it's delayed search, second standby phase. But mostly this card just exists to be a contact fusion for the archetype. I don't really know what you'll be looking for. You'll probably be looking for some kind of spell, but who knows. Yosenju, 3, level 4 Wind Beast Warrior, 1500, 800. When this is a normal summon, you can immediately after this effect normal summon a Yosenju monster from your hand, except for Yosenju, 3. When another Yosenju monster you control inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can add a Yosenju card from your deck to your hand, except for this one. You can use this effect once per turn. When normal summoned during the end phase, it's returned to the hand. So all the Yosenju monsters typically have this ability. They're spirit monsters. They're not spirit monsters legally, but they have the ability where they're normal summoned, they go back to the hand. In this one, it's like Drill Dark. It lets you summon another monster, and it lets your opponent's monster tutor a card when they hit them. But it's all dependent on battle damage being inflicted, and that's always a drawback, right? Yosenju, 2, level 4 Wind Beast Warrior, 1800, 200. Same ability. When it's normal summoned, you can normal summon another Yosenju monster from the hand, except for this one. This one can attack directly, but when using this effect, its battle damage is inflicted as half. It's returned to the hand when normal summoned. So this is like Cyber Dark Edge. Basically, Yosenju, 3 can get 2 out. 2 has a better shot of hitting your opponent because it hits directly, and then you draw a card, but then they both get sent back to the hand. Yeah. Similar to Cyber Dark Edge. Crystron Fistworm. Level 3 Warrior Machine, 1500, 1500. You can target a face-up card you control. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except for Machine Synchros. Also destroy that card. And if you do special summon a Crystron Tuner from the deck, you can banish this card from the graveyard, add a Crystron monster from your deck to your hand, except for this one. You can use one effect each turn and only once that turn. So this is a very similar card to Crystron Smyger. They both have the ability where they target a card, destroy it, special summon a tuner from the deck, and then the only difference is you banish this from the graveyard, you draw a monster instead of a spell. So this is seeing play already in Crystron decks, and it's level 3, so you could basically cheat out Citri, which is level 2, and then you can have your, I forget what the guy is called, Amatrix, I think, 2500 attack Synchro. Crystrons always were better with Amatrix, but if you can get Crystron Quadrant Gandrix out, that would be pretty cool. The deck, I think Nordics did it much better. They could do it in one turn with Quadrant Gandrix, but hey, if there's enough support for Crystrons, then why not play this card, right? Camera Clops, level 4 Light Warrior, 1400, 1600. If this card attacks a face-up monster on the field at the start of the damage step, destroy that monster. Its defense must be higher than this card's attack to activate and resolve this effect. This is a very interesting card. It's probably one of the best SRs of this bunch, but the reliance on getting a battle and avoiding back row hinders this card. But we are seeing random warriors being played. For example, that's a different deck. The deck with the Subterrors were all Earth monsters. This one's a warrior, light warrior, so that could be a problem. But in terms of needing a random warrior around, sometimes this one's okay. This one can just destroy a monster with effect destruction. That's not valuable against some really big monsters. Divine Wind of Mist Valley, field spell. Once per turn, if a wind monster you control returns to the hand, except during the damage step, you can special summon a level 4 or lower wind monster from your deck. So, you can recycle some ability of some wind monsters, but this could open up a one-turn kill strategy with Mist Valley Falcon. 2000, you hit, you return it, and then you hit with another 2000 from the deck. That's all I've got. For that one-turn kill strategy. This is a very flexible card. I mean, Wind is probably the worst attribute of monsters, but this opens up a lot of play. As long as they keep releasing wind monsters, you have to consider this card. This could be a chase card, really. Maybe. Okay, here's probably the best card here. Magnetic Field spell. If you control level 4 or lower Earth Rock monster, you can target one level 4 or lower Magnet Warrior in your graveyard, special summon it. You can use this effect of Magnetic Field once per turn. Once per turn, at the end of the damage step, when an Earth Rock monster you control battled an opponent's monster, the opponent's monster was not destroyed by battle, you can return that monster to the hand. So, this is removal. Magnet Warriors rely on getting destroyed. They play a weak level 4, they send something to the graveyard, they get Delta out or something, they send another card to the graveyard, and then get destroyed. They seek to get them being destroyed. I think they want to populate the graveyard with those 3 monsters so they can get Berserkion out. This card will bounce that monster that destroyed the defense position monster, your Magnet Warrior. So that's removal. But then you could also use this card to ram. You could ram your weaker Magnet Warriors into them, and then Magnetic Field will return them to the hand. So, in a sense, when you play magnetic field, I can't talk. When you play Magnetic Field, your opponent has no incentive to attack your weak Magnet Warriors. They have to play Cosmic Cyclone to get rid of this card. But then they can't play around you ramming your Magnet Warrior into their monster and then setting up lethal. So, this is a very good card. Not for bouncing your opponent's monsters during their turn, but during your turn. They need Cosmic Cyclone to get rid of this card if they want to win the duel. Another very interesting card, Mordschlag. Equip spell. Equip only to a normal summoned set monster you control. It is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects of special summoned monsters. During damage calculation, if the equipped monster battles an opponent's special summoned monster, that opponent's monster loses attack and defense equal to the equipped monster's original attack during that damage calculation only. So, to be a good equip in Duel Links, you have to beat Power of the Guardians. That's the one OP equip spell that you could just play and be fine, right? Because the monster's pretty much never getting destroyed unless you get rid of Power of the Guardians. This doesn't outright beat Power of the Guardians, but Mordschlag allows you to beat a special summoned monster. And almost every single monster in Duel Links now is special summoned. And you get by the effects, and you pretty much destroy them. You make them, it's like World Legacy Clash, you make them lose a lot of attack and defense without your monster being gone, so they'll still be there. I think this could be decent with Noble Knights, because Noble Knights inherently have protection. They protect each other against battle or effect damage. With the Noble Arms card. But then this lets them get by some effect destruction or some special summon monster. And then you could use this on Dristron or something and then destroy something. So, and the cool thing about Mordschlag is that it comes from what the card looks like. There's like a sword art where you hit them with the hilt of the sword instead of the blade. So it's like a mace. So it's kind of cool. That's why it's called Mordschlag. I guess that's what it is. I think this is a very interesting card. I think it could work for Noble Knights. As a Noble Knight player, it intrigues me, but I don't think it'll bring back the archetype. I don't think I'm going to fish through this box just to get Mordschlag, but it's a cool card, I think. Crystron Impact, trap card. Target one of your banished Crystron monsters, special summon it. If your opponent controls any face-up monsters, change their defense to 0. During either player's turn, except for the turn this was sent to the graveyard, when a card or effect that activates a target's Crystron monster you control, you can banish this from the graveyard and negate that effect. Very solid trap card. You resurrect a monster, change an opponent's monster's defense to 0 permanently, it seems. And if it provides graveyard protection. When it gets targeted, you protect the Crystron. So, they pretty much had no spell or trap support, so this is a very good card for Smyger to get for protection against targeted abilities. And the last SR is Super Team Buddy Force Unite, trap card. Target one face-up monster on the field, special summon one monster from your hand or graveyard with the same original type as that monster, but with a different name. If this card in its owner's spell or trap zone is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you can set one Super Team Buddy Force Unite directly from your deck to your spell or trap zone. This basically lets you special summon another monster with the same type in the deck. It thins the deck also when it gets destroyed, but doesn't play around Cosmic Cyclone, which seems to be the main back row removal moving forward. It's good against Galaxy Cyclone, I guess. It's versatile, though. I want to say most good archetypes already do this with their synergy. They focus on special summoning from the deck, and that's what makes them really good. This is for any archetype that can't do that. And I think it will see play because it opens up play for archetypes that didn't excel in swarming with their own synergy. This just opens up a lot of play for them. I think it will see play in some capacity. Move on to the archetypes of the R's and N's of this box. Ritual Beasts. Contact Fusion here. Ritual Beast Alti Petalfin. Level 6. Tamer and a Spiritual Beast. 200 attack, 2800 defense. Cannot be destroyed by card effects. And then you have the other abilities where it must be contact fused, and it could also bounce back to your to your board with 2 monsters. I don't really see the point of this card, really. You're contact fusing for a 2800 defender. It has virtually no attack. It just doesn't get destroyed by card effects. That's its only ability. It doesn't affect the board in any way. I think it's just a stall. You're stalling. And then you defuse it, and then you can play it once you draw more cards. I don't know. I don't really get the point of this card. It's not like you need the Dolphin to play this card. It's just any Tamer and Spiritual Beast, so it doesn't matter. It's just an option in your extra deck. Really, I don't get the point of this card. It's just the 2800 defender. Ritual Beast Alti Cannahawk, same thing. 1400 attack, 1600 defense. Once per turn, you can target 2 of your banished Ritual Beast cards, return them to the graveyard. If you do, add a Ritual Beast card from your deck to your hand. This card's not for attacking. 1400 attack, 1600 defense. Most monsters are going to beat this Contact Fusion in a fight anyways. Helps you tutor a Ritual Beast card. The only thing is you don't really return this card to the extra deck because you have recycled 2 of your Ritual Beast cards and sent them to the graveyard instead of using them to be banished, and be sent back to the field. So this is more of a card advantage card. You try to draw a card from your deck to your hand. This one's a little better than the Dolphin. Again, it's not for attacking, and you typically would want to unsummon this card, like defuse the materials at the end of the turn, because this is going to get destroyed. Ritual Beast Tamer Elder, level 2, Wind Psychic, 200 attack, 1000 defense. After you normal summon this card, you can normal summon a Ritual Beast during your main phase, in addition to a normal summoner set. So this allows you to contact fuse immediately. You play the Elder, and then you could play a Beast, and then you make a contact fusion of your choice of any of the 3 monsters. Yeah, pretty solid. Letting you get a Ritual Beast ulti right away. Ritual Beast Tamer Lara, level 1 Psychic, 100 attack, 2000 defense. If this is normal summoned, you can target a Ritual Beast from your graveyard, special summon it. So same thing, except instead of the card being in your hand, it's in your graveyard. So it's a different situation, a little more late game. It's got more stats than the Elder. And Ritual Beast Tamer Wen, level 3 Psychic, 1500 attack, 1000 defense. When this is normal summoned, you can target one of your banished Ritual Beast monsters, special summon it. So, all of these Tamers allow you to contact fuse immediately, which is decent for the archetype because their monsters aren't known for their stats. The only one that can attack really is the 2600. This card is a little more late game again because it's banished monsters. It's got 1500 attack, and of course all these monsters are psychics, which allows you to probably put in Psychokinesis in the deck. Spiritual Beast Pedifin, level 4 Wind Aqua, 0 attack, 2000 defense. Once per turn, you can banish the Ritual Beast card from your hand Target a card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So, ideally, you would get this on the board, bounce their card, and then Contact Fusion. This is the main removal of the deck, it seems. A card with 0 attack. Spiritual Beast Rampengu, level 4 beast, 1600 attack, 400 defense. Once per turn, you can banish Ritual Beast from your extra deck, send a Ritual Beast with the same type as that monster from your deck to the graveyard. So this card dumps 2 cards into the graveyard. That's if you want to populate your deck with more graveyard monsters. Spiritual Beast Apello, level 4 Pyro, 1800 attack, 200 defense. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you can banish Ritual Beast from your graveyard. For the rest of the turn, all Ritual Beasts gain 500 attack and defense. So this has the most attack of all the Spiritual Beasts. It's kind of like Triamid Dancer, and it gives all of their monsters a buff. So I think this is a pretty good card for that, because these cards are very understated. It can help your 2600 get over 3000, of course. Ritual Beasts Bond, quick play spell, banish 2 Ritual Beasts monster you control. Special summon a Ritual Beast from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So this lets you Contact Fuse immediately. You don't really need the Tamer, so you can just do 2 Beasts and you get the Contact Fusion out. Ideally, you want to do this after you're already attacked with those monsters, and then you do it for an extra attack, like on the 2600. Ritual Beast Return, quick play spell. Banish 1 Ritual Beast from your hand. Target one of your Ritual Beast monsters that is banished or in your graveyard, special summon it. Quick play Resurrection. So as long as you have 1 card in the hand, it's a little situational like that. Last card, Ritual Beast Ambush, trap card. Target one of your Ritual Beast Tamer monsters and one of your Spiritual Beast monsters that are banished or in the graveyard, special summon them in defense mode. After this card is activated, you cannot special summon monsters except for Ritual Beasts. It resurrects 2 materials you've used already, allowing you to make another Contact Fusion. So that's it for the Ritual Beasts. Overall, they can Contact Fuse very easily, but I think overall the package of what you get is very underwhelming, because the best monster is just the 2600 that can ignore the back row. And situationally can get over 3000, but that's only if you have the other Tiger around. So, not too impressed with the archetype. Moving on to the other main archetype, the Yosenjus. Yosenju Sujik, level 4 Beast Warrior, 1000 attack, 0 defense. Has 2 abilities. During either player's damage step, when a Yosenju monster you control battles an opponent's monster, you can discard this card. The monster you control gains 1000 attack until the end of the turn. Or you can target a Yosenju monster in the field. It gains 1000 attack until the end of the turn. This is a hand trick where you could discard it, make them boost to 1000, and hit over a guy. Potentially very useful in the archetype because the monsters are understated. I think it'll be used more for the first ability than the second. Yosenju Izna, level 4 Wind Beast Warrior, 800 attack, 1200 defense. You can use each of these abilities once per turn. You can discard it. This turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when a Yosenju monster is normal summoned or special summoned. If you control another Yosenju monster, you can draw a card. So, another hand trick, you could play around Paleozoic Canadia, or you could summon it for card advantage. Again, a card that's kind of useful, but very low stats. Yosenju Magat, level 6 Wind Beast, 2000 attack, 100 defense. If this card is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 Yosenju monster from your deck except for Magat. During the end phase, if this is special summoned, return it to the hand. So the goal is to get this guy on the board. Because all the Yosenjus have like double summon abilities, you play one and then you can normal summon this. It's just a 1 tribute 2000, which is very underwhelming. But with the other cards to help it, it's the Sujik. It gives it 1000 attack, so it's like a 1 tribute 3000. And it won't return to the hand because it's normal summoned. And then you could get another monster on the board, so it kind of makes up for it. I think this is a very solid card because you could get the other monster from the deck, and then it's going to be like a 3000 sometimes. Yeah. Yosenju Kodam, level 1 Beast Warrior, 0 attack and defense. You contribute this card. Target 1 Yosen training grounds you control. Place 3 Yosen counters on it. You can use this effect once per turn. You can banish this from the graveyard, normal summon a Yosenju monster during your main phase in addition to your normal summon or set. So this helps your quick play, your continuous spell. It gives it counters. That allows you to get a card from the deck or the graveyard, so it's card advantage, and it gives an extra double summon ability. Yosenju Oyam, level 6 beast, wind, 0 attack and defense. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can send the Yosenju monster from your hand to the graveyard, except for this one. Special summon this from your hand. This card battles at the start of the damage step. When this card battles an opponent's face-up monster, you can make this card's attack and defense become equal to the original attack of the monster it's battling until the end of the turn. When this is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can add a Yosenju card from your deck to your hand. Very weird combat trick. It's situational, though. You need another card in the hand. You summon this from the hand. You try to fight a tie with that monster, and then you draw a card. It depends if they get to pull back the attack, and then this card will be a 0/0. It's kind of weird. Yosenju Training Grounds, continuous spell. Each time a Yosenju monster is normal or special summoned, add a counter to this card. And then you can remove counters and apply these effects. You can remove one counter. All Yosenju monsters you control gain 300 attack until the end of the turn. And then 3 counters, add a Yosenju card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. This doesn't do a ton, frankly. It works well with the Kodam, and then you could get a card right away. But 300 attack boost is whatever. And you only use it once per turn. Not too useful, in my opinion. Yosenju's secret move, counter trap. When a spell or trap or monster effect is activated while you control at least one Yosenju card, all face-up monsters you control are Yosenjus. Negate the activation if you do destroy it. We see one of these almost for every archetype, like Gladiator Beast had parry and disarm, for example. I guess this lets you splash in Parshath. It's a counter trap that you can get a monster on the board. Parshath is light, it's not wind, so no synergy there. Yosen Whirlwind, continuous spell. Activate this card by paying 800 life points. If a face-up Yosenju you control returns to the hand, target one card your opponent controls, return it. Destroy it if this is activated this turn. So you bounce your monsters because they're spirits, and then you bounce your opponent's cards. That's all it does. And finally, Yosenju Wind Warship, quick play. If you controlled 3 or more Yosenju monsters with different names, return all Yosenju monsters you control to the hand. Draw until you have 5 cards. Very situational. You need those 3 monsters, and then at most you're drawing 2 because you already sent back 3 monsters, so not worth it at all. Mist Valley, only 2 new Mist Valley cards. There's a Synchro Boss, Mist Valley Thunder Lord, level 7 Thunder. Requires 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner Mist Valley monsters, 2600 attack, 2400 defense. Once per turn, you can select 1 card you control, return it to the hand. This card gains 500 attack until the end phase. This effect can only be activated during either player's turn. So there's synergy with the field spell, Divine Wind of the Mist Valley. So you could cheat out a monster from the deck. This guy has 3100 attack, which lets him hit over some monsters. It's bonus points because it lets you do it during either player's turn. It doesn't do anything to disrupt the back row. It doesn't banish anything, though, so that makes it not very impressive at all. It is a level 7 Synchro, though. That's a very compatible level in terms of Synchro monsters. There's definitely enough Mist Valley monsters to go around here. The other new card is Mist Valley Falcon, level 4 Winged Beast, 2000 attack, 1200 defense. This card cannot declare an attack unless you return a card you control to the hand. It seems like a drawback, but there's a lot of synergy, specifically with Divine Wind of the Mist Valley. You have to have another card on the board, you return it, you attack, then you special summon another one from the deck. Very clunky OTK, but maybe it could work. The other 2 notable cards in this deck are Turbo Warrior. It's a level 6 Warrior Synchro. It requires Turbo Synchron, 2500 attack, 1500 defense. When this card attacks a level 6 or higher Synchro monster, have the attack of the attack target until the end of the damage step. Not targeted by effects of level 6 or lower monsters. So the White Aura Dolphin does it a lot better because it doesn't have to be a level 6 or higher Synchro. This is only useful if Synchros are in every single deck, and Dark Lords don't even use them, so who cares? And the last card is Flying Kamakiri 1. It's your typical generic floater for a level 1500 or lower wind monster from the deck, which screams Mystic Tomato will come in a few boxes, maybe. Alright, so that is the full card review of Spirit of the Beast. Again, none of these archetypes are convincing me enough to buy this box at all. I'm going to save up for the next box, which will probably come next month after the Kaiba Cup, or maybe even before the Kaiba Cup. We don't know. But I will not be buying this box. Nothing really blows me away here. Alright, so Doug Dimmadule is back. He has a casual deck of the week. He combines Alistair the Invoker with Invocation, with old school water decks, Citadel Whale, Sea Stealth, all those other monsters that were involved back then. So here is Doug Dimmadule with a invoked water deck.
Hey there, this is Doug Dimmadule with Doug's Casual Deck of the Week. This week, I know y'all are way too excited about the new MiniBOX, so instead of focusing on the new MiniBOX, I'm going to focus on the prior box and how to splash Alistair the Invoker into a full-on Mythic Depths, just Mako Tsunami deck that is out of this world and is actually pretty competitive and fairly fun to use. So, without further ado, let me get into it. So, honestly, due to the new changes in the skill nerfs and a lot of the new ban list items, I wanted to go back to my roots, and I always enjoyed playing water decks. I was always a fan of Citadel Whale, so I wanted to do a deck with Citadel Whale. Now, it may not be the most meta deck, but again, this is casual decks, so that's why I'm going for a Citadel Whale Sea Stealth attack while utilizing Alistair the Invoker to hopefully get some invoked Cositis plays into action using Sea Stealth attack to just keep on popping your opponent's monsters using Sea Stealth attack, and just an overall good play. So effectively what I wanted to run is 3 copies of Alistair the Invoker if you have access to that. This is really one of the best cards for this deck right now. During either player's turn, you could send this card from your hand to the graveyard, then target one fusion monster you control, and it gains 1,000 attack and defense until the end of this turn. If this card is normal summoned or flipped face up, you can add 1 invocation from your deck to your hand. So with this deck, I do run my 1 copy of Invocation. So if you are using it to fusion summon an invoked monster, you can also banish cards from the graveyard rather than just on the field. So overall, really good. The whole point of it is every other card in this deck is a water monster, so invoked Cositis is the monster that you're trying to summon. It's a level 6 Dragon Fusion, 1800 attack, 2900 defense. It requires an Alistair the Invoker and a water monster. This card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and this card can attack while in face-up defense position. If it does, apply attack for damage calculation. So the fact that this completely avoids, stuff like the Desperado Barrel Dragon there, it just keeps your opponent has a lot of targeting effects. This bypasses the Mirror Force card that sends everything shuffled back into your deck because it focuses on attack position monsters. You just keep this card in defense and wait for your Sea Stealth attack to then ultimately start popping your opponent's monsters and just going to town. So what other cards do I run? Well, I run 3 copies of Abyss Soldier. That's a throwback UR if you want to go back to one of the really older boxes and get Abyss Soldier. Once per turn, you can discard 1 water monster to the graveyard to target 1 card on the field and return it to the hand. So I like to do this more so for back row than anything else. I like to return back row to the hand. I like to return monsters that maybe took a lot of effort to get out onto the field. Maybe an extra deck monster, send it back to the extra deck. That's the whole game plan. I also run my package of Atlantean Marksman and Atlantean Heavy Infantry. Those are the 2 SRs from one of the old main boxes as well. When each of these cards are destroyed by a Water Monster's effect, Marksman targets 1 set card your opponent controls and destroys it, and Heavy Infantry targets 1 face-up card your opponent controls and destroys that target. So really what you could do is if you could get Marksman and Heavy Infantry on the field and use the effect of Citadel Whale to destroy those 2 cards, or to send them to the graveyard using a Water Monster's effect, ultimately you're able to activate their effects from the graveyard and also start clearing your opponent's board. So how do I have a lot of control as to what ends up on the field for a Citadel Whale play? Because if you can figure it out by now, I want to have at least 3 copies of Citadel Whale. 2 is fine as well, but 3, that's what you want. Deep Sea Diva. Now this is a UR from a more recent box. It's a level 2 Sea Serpent Tuner. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 level 3 or lower Sea Serpent type monster from your deck. So ultimately you're going to either send out your Heavy Infantry or your Marksman, because they're both Sea Serpents and they're both level 3 or lower, and you could either get into your Citadel Whale play or get into a Synchro play. So I do run a level 5 Water Synchro for Sea Dragon, Lord Gishelnodon. I don't even know how to pronounce that. 1 tuner and 1 level 3 non-tuner monster. So that's your Marksman and your Deep Sea Diva. When a face-up level 3 or lower monster on the field is sent to the graveyard, this card's attack becomes 3,000 until the end phase of this turn. Now I know, like I said, the driving force is you really want to try to get your Alistair Invoker, Alistair the Invoker plays going, but this deck does have a Synchro component. So what I run in the extra deck is that Sea Dragon Lord level 5 Synchro. I run White Aura Dolphin, the level 6 Synchro monster, where once per turn you could target an opponent's monster and cut its attack in half of its original attack. This also adds a level of flotation, because anytime this card is sent to the graveyard or destroyed, you can banish a water monster to put this card right back onto the field. Then for level 7, I run, Gungnir, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, level 7 Synchro, requiring 1 tuner and 1 or more non-tuner water monsters. So if you have your Deep Sea Diva, your Marksman, and your Heavy Infantry, that adds up to a level 7. So you could go into this Synchro play. Once per turn, you can discard up to 2 cards to the graveyard to target the same number of cards your opponent controls and destroy them. So if you have another Marksman or another Heavy Infantry in your hand, you can just basically blow up your opponent's entire board depending on the situation, as long as you have enough cards in your hand. Finally, I run a copy of Mistworm. You could really you could really put something else in this last slot, but I do run my 2 copies of Invoked Cositis. You can always try and run a 3rd copy instead of the Mistworm or whatever other Synchro monster you have, but just know that there's a Synchro capability in this deck, and there's just a lot of flexibility to how this deck can be run. So you want to run your 3 copies of Citadel Whale. It's a level 7. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you contribute 2 water monsters. Special summon this card. You can only use this effect once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can set 1 Sea Stealth attack directly from your deck. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets 1 water monster you control and no other cards, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So this card is still really good. I know there's fewer and fewer cards in the current meta that's directly targeting, but this still has some staying power, and I like to use the Citadel Whale effect using the Atlantean Marksman and the Atlantean Heavy Infantry to really do some damage. Finally, run 3 copies of your Sea Stealth attack. This card's great. You just need Umi on the field, which is why I run Mythic Depths. Once per turn, you can banish 1 water monster. This turn, face-up spells and traps you control cannot be destroyed by opponent card effects. Also, at the start of the damage step, if your water monster whose original level is 5 or higher battles an opponent's monster, destroy that opponent's monster. Now, this deck's one big weakness is through cards that can banish back row, so your Cosmic Cyclone is the best example. So, yeah, you could kind of be screwed over in that regard. But it's not to say that you still can't use your Atlantean combos or try and get some powerful stuff going. Abyss Soldier does not need Umi on the field in order to do some damage. So this deck could still hold its own. So anyway, it's worth giving it a shot. But honestly, with the new changes to the meta, I think that this deck can actually be somewhat competitive. But that's without taking into account what's coming out in the newest box. So anyway, that's it for this week's casual deck. I will see you next week.
Alright, thanks, Doug. And you can check him out on this podcast every week and his own Twitter account, Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Talk. So let's continue the news. The 100 million download celebration. Previously, there were leaks about the discounted box sales. I thought it was fake, but apparently it is true. They're giving us a lot of gems and some dream tickets as well. So, well, one UR dream ticket. So, I used my old UR dream ticket on Drowning Mirror Force. This one has some more updated cards, so you could sit on it. And don't make it do anything too rash. Just get a card you need. To save gems, of course. You need to do it for a box where you're not really buying it through. And there are some... the big news, of course, is that the previous boxes from edition 1 to 7 are half price. So you could buy 10 packs for $250. And there are some chase cards that are still applicable to this meta. Servant of Kings, which is the last box you can buy. Forbidden Chalice and Wall of D are in those. Generation Next has Floodgate. Crimson Kingdom has Gozuki and the Fusion Buster Blader that everyone plays. Dawn of Destiny has a lot of cards. Nephis, Dark Hex Sealed Fusion, and all the Fire King cards. Chaotic Compliance has some Psychic cards and Gale Lizard. Valkyrie's Rage has Divine Wrath, Wild Tornado, Shinzang Hu. Neo Impact has Mirror Wall and Senju. Flame of the Tyrant has Worm and Venus. Those are kind of weird cards, but they might be useful. And Ultimate Rising, the first box, has Sonic Bird, Sphere Karibo, and Twister. So those are some of the chase cards for newer players. If you just started the game, those are some cards that are still kind of good. A lot of the cards that are in these boxes, unfortunately, have been phased out. They're not very useful at all. So, yeah, that's it. There are two other new cards to talk about from different events. The first one's from Duel Quest, and this is Toy Soldier. Just an anime card. Level 3 Machine, Earth, 800 attack, 300 defense. During your standby phase, special summon one Toy Soldier in attack position from your deck. So if you keep this card alive, you could resurrect one. If it gets destroyed, you could resurrect it with Powerful Rebirth or something. But then you keep it alive with Pulse Mines. You can maybe have 3 monsters or 2 monsters on the board. And this can help with the Egyptian gods summoning, or maybe even future XZ's play. So you can make like a rank 2, a rank 3 XZ's play with 2 of these. So, not the worst card I've seen from a free event like this. And then the Card Trader Inventory Update has 2 repeated cards, Electromagnetic Bagworm. This is already a card I had 3 of, but it's for people who didn't do the previous events or newer players. At this point, it's not a very useful card. There is Acid Rain if you want to fight against machine decks. So Magician's Rod, though, is a core card for Dark Magician decks, so it's definitely a card you need to get if you don't have 3 copies. They did release a new card, and that is a spell called Neutron Blast, just a rare. Target 1 fusioned Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon you control. This turn, it can make a 2nd and 3rd attack during each battle phase. Also, when it attacks your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated until the end of the damage step. Pretty much a 1-turn kill for your Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Very situational. You have to have that monster on the board. But then this makes you wonder if Cyberstein decks can be revived. Cyberstein, with Taya's old ability, was very good. I think that was Life Cost 0 deck. And this just seals the deal. So you get 3 copies of this. You put in as many Blue Eyes as possible. Well, you're playing Cyberstein, so you won't be playing Blue Eyes. You would just be getting it straight from the extra deck. So maybe there's a cute and fun way of making it work. I don't know. It's an uphill battle, but it's more for fun in killing your opponent in 1 turn. Alright, so that is it for this week. Let's talk about the upcoming news that was just released this morning. Early November, Transcend Game Part 2. We get to obtain the Unknown Duelist. Probably some new cards as well. We'll see if it all works together. She has the Constellar cards. She has the Cubic cards. And we're getting her right before the Kaiba Cup. Early November, Mission Circuit. New SR card, Centaur Mina. As I just said, Kaiba Cup from November 14 to 24. Who knows if the Unknown Duelist cards will make an impact. She might be good. Mid-November, Tour Guides Mission Bingo, new SR, new Roid, Kite Roid. Late November, Tag Duel Tournament, new UR, Vylon Prison, and a new SR called Dark Archetype. Late November, Alluring Alexis is back, new UR, Cyber Tutu Bond, and more excitingly, a new SR card, Magnificent Machine Angel. Could Cyber Angels finally be back for the third time? And late November, Ubel and Jaden Ubel are finally retired to the gate. That event is finally over. And the last update, which they forgot to do or they didn't get to last month, checking the list during the opponent's turn. So they might finally get to that this month. That is it for the podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Check out and subscribe to this podcast wherever you are. This podcast is searchable with the Duel Assessment. All these notes are on the WordPress site, theduelassessment.wordpress.com. You can email me, or better yet, find me on Twitter with the podcast question of the week, Duel_assessment, my own personal account at Green Ranger CCG. All right, that is it for this week. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.